Hello, I'm Dr. Jack Winner, and I'm here with Harry, my assistant, to demonstrate to you how to test a muscle. Okay, muscle testing is the foundation of what A&A is all about. The better muscle testers we are, the more likelihood we can find a weakness in the system, find that problem, give the nutrition necessary to support that problem, and know that we've made a change because the muscles indicate that as well. So our foundation is understanding how muscle testing is done. So Harry and I are going to demonstrate that for you now. I'm going to take Harry's arm here. I'm going to ask him to push up for me. I'm going to push for 2 pounds of pressure, 2 seconds. I'm going to go 2 inches with that arm. Harry, ask Harry to resist for me. Harry, resist if you will. So I'm going to push for 2 seconds, 2 pounds of pressure for 2 inches. It determined that this arm was actually strong, and this is functional for me. So that's what I'm going to use that premise all the way through here. Now, why are we doing that? Good, we're going to do 2 pounds because we don't want to overpower people. Especially if you're doing this for a long period of time, they'll get tired and you'll get tired as a practitioner. 2 seconds. 2 seconds is long enough to know if we got something going on here, if there's going to be weakness or strength. I do it for 5 minutes, this guy's going to fatigue on me, I won't find anything at all. And then again for 2 inches. I'm going to push his arm down about 2 inches. Will give me a good indication if he's going to hold strong for me or not. When after that 2 inches, if he gets weakened, we know we got a problem. If he can still hold for me, we got a good test here. Okay? So, now we're going to go actually how the test is actually being performed using that premise, 2 pounds, 2 seconds, 2 inches. So as we do that, I'm going to ask Harry first of all if he has any electronics on him. Watch, phone, things in his ears, anything else he might have that might deter the test or be a clear and conscious test. So I'm going to ask Harry to take those things off if he has them on. I'm also going to ask him if he's got a weak arm, left or right shoulder. If he does, I don't want to use the weak shoulder because it won't give me a clean test. So I've already asked Harry, I know he's awesome both ways, but his right shoulder was actually strong for us for sure, so we use his right shoulder. So to do that, I'm going to take a deltoid muscle, which is an arm that comes straight out from his shoulder. I'm going to hold that arm straight out from him to me. I'm also going to make sure he drops his shoulder down. Now Harry will have a tendency, or everybody else will have a tendency to roll their shoulder up a little bit. So as a practitioner, I'm going to make sure that shoulder drops back down. I'd like to have you always understand this. You are in control of this test. You do it the way you have consistency with it, so you consistently do this all the way through. That consistency builds trust and also surety in what you're doing. When you're clearly doing the same thing the same way each time, you'll know if you get a good or bad test. It will help you later on in your practice as a practitioner. So this shoulder down, I'm going to have him lock his elbow straight. Again, he bends the elbow, he'll give us an inconsistent test. And I'm also going to push down on his wrist. I'm going to lay the flat of my hand down his wrist and push straight down. Do it that way. If he has any pains in his wrist or has a carpal tunnel, it'll deter that problem from causing this an inconsistent test. So again, I'm going to hold his shoulder, make sure the shoulder's down, have him lock his elbow, and I'll push down on his wrist, 2 pounds, 2 seconds, 2 inches, and we have him resist. Resist here, please. Good. So that's a good test. I know now I got a good strength there, and he's holding well for me. I'm going to do that now without putting my arm across there because I want to make sure you can see this clearly. Again, I'm going to ask Harry to resist. 2 pounds, 2 seconds, 2 inches. Resist. So that's a good test. Now what I want to do with you all, just to let you see the difference here, I've taken some sugar. So I just have a little sugar cube. I'm going to give this to Harry. I'm doing this because I want to see if I can get him to get weakened for me. So as I have him hold that sugar, I'm going to retest him again. And I want to see if I can find a difference. So while he's got the sugar on him, I'm going to ask him to drop his shoulder, keep his elbow straight, and push 2 pounds, 2 seconds, 2 inches, and ask him to resist. And so I can see the weakness there, so I know the sugar is a concern of his, so we're thoughtful about that. Now later on you can do that with vitamins, and you can do all kinds of things as well, but now we know we got a good test and this guy's testable. So that's our standing muscle testing. We did the first muscle testing standing up, now we're going to do the second muscle testing seated. Okay, so why would we do it seated? Again, it's convenience for you as well, if that's how you want to work all day long, or if the patient has for some reason they're infirm and they can't stand, you can actually do a seated position as well. Again, we're going to do the same procedure again. Remember we talked about 2 pounds, 2 seconds, 2 inches. We're always going to do the same thing every time we muscle test. Again, to reiterate this again, it's easier for you as a practitioner if you're not pushing this too hard for too long a period of time. It fatigues you. Also, it's going to fatigue the patient, and we don't want to do that. So again, we ask the patient if he has any electronics on. Electronics? Good. We ask him if he has a good arm, or arm that hurts, by the way, or the arms are fine. Are both arms fine with you? Good. So we've got a good arm to work with. He's going to work with his right shoulder again because he said he's fine with that. So again, I'm going to pick his arm back up, make sure he drops his shoulder, make sure his elbow is straight. I'm going to push flat on his wrist. I'm going to push 2 pounds, 2 seconds, 2 inches. And they have Harry resist. Resist. Good. We have good strength there. We're fine with that. Then we're going to come back with my sugar again. Ask the area to hold my sugar, his sugar. And ask him elbow straight and shoulder straight. And push 2 pounds, 2 seconds, 2 inches. Have Harry resist. And there's our weakness. So we know now he's testable. Okay, so now we're going to talk about testing muscles in laying position. Again, many of you practitioners that want to do this, if you have a table to work with, this is probably the most ideal way to test because the person is laying down and stable. Again, their body's not going to move very much with you. And you can get the arm in that position you want to. It's a little bit easier for you as a practitioner to actually pull forward and test as well, with the patient's not moving back and forth. But our test procedure is exactly the same thing. Remember, we said 2 pounds, 2 seconds, 2 inches. That's exactly what we're going to do here as well. So now I've got Harry laying down, so I'm going to take that same muscle. Again, we also took care of the electronics with him. We took care of making sure his right shoulder was strong and functional for us. So we're going to use that same shoulder again. Now again, he's laying back down. So now what I'm going to do with him is to make sure that shoulder is down against the table, so it's square, so he's not picking his shoulder up. I'm going to have him lock his elbow, and again, I'm going to push his arm straight down toward me now. Again, 2 pounds, 2 seconds, 2 inches. Here, you can lock that for me and resist. Good. And so he's holding strong. Now it was a little bit mushier than it was last time, but it's still at 2 pounds, 2 seconds, 2 inches. Still showed me he's got strength here. Resist again, Harry. So he's still got resistance, so we're still fine here. Now again, I'll come back with our sugar and see if we can use this to determine if we can get some weakness with him. So I'm going to have him hold the sugar for me, if you will. Drop his shoulder down, lock his elbow, and push 2 pounds, 2 seconds, 2 inches. And there's our weakness. So now we know we have a testable patient, and we have a chance now to go on from here, determine what their nutritional needs are, and support those nutritional needs. Okay? What we're going to do now is we're going to talk about some of the problem people that you might run into. And they are not trying to present a problem to you, they just have weaknesses within their system that makes it more difficult to test. So we want to cover as many of those kind of situations as we can right up front. So if that happens to you, you've seen this video, you have a chance to kind of relook at this again and see if you can make an adaptation and solve that problem for yourself as well. So sometimes what you'll find is you'll find really heavy gorilla kinds of guys that are hard to deal with because they're very strong. We're going to show you how to test those guys, and also very weak people that have a lot of pain in their arms or shoulders, a little bit more difficult to test as well. So what I want to do is I want to take Harry, and I'm going to have Harry just be really, really strong with me, like one of those muscle building guys that you're going to work with. So let's have him do that. Yeah, so here he goes. He's going to pump up for us. So here we're going to go. So I'm going to test Harry again. So what he's going to do, he's going to do whatever he can do to solve it for me, so he doesn't get weak for me, okay? And Harry, just hold as hard as you can. You can do anything you want to hold for me. Ready? Push. See how he was pretty strong? And what he did 3 things with this. He picked up his shoulder, he bent his elbow, and he rocked back on his heels. I don't think you saw as many of those things as he actually did. And as a young practitioner, you might have difficulty seeing that as well. But that's what he did. So I'm going to start taking some of those aspects that he just adapted from out. So we're going to drop his shoulder down and we'll lock his elbow. And try it again. So there he is. Now, if he went back on his heels, ask you here, I have to go back on your heels for him if you can. Lock your elbow, if you will, and bend back. So if he goes back on his heels, can you see him make the movement? He made the movement to pick up the strength for me. People will do this. They're not trying, oftentimes it can be a hard time, but sometimes they will. They're doing the same thing. So as a good practitioner, you're not going to let them do that. So we started seeing him go back on your heels, you know he's got a problem. We see him pick his shoulder up, we know he's got a problem. We see him bend his elbow, we know we got a problem. So as a practitioner, I'm going to make sure all 3 of those aspects I'm going to do very clear here. So do this again. Drop your shoulder, lock your real straight for me if you please, stay flat in your feet, and resist. So there's our weakness. So again, if you know that they should be weak on something you've given them, especially something that's a corn, wheat, dairy item or a sugar item, and you know they're supposed to be weakened, if they're not, check your technique, because what's happened, they've adapted someplace and they're trying to shift to get that strength back again. So as a good practitioner, you're going to go back and make sure you check all your areas of weaknesses, make sure they're all corrected, and then you're going to test from that point. The side of this coin could be people who are very, very weak, and it's really hard for you to test them. So now we're going to test a different model, and again, this is a female, so she's a little lighter, she's not quite as strong as our male model we had earlier. So I'm going to use Beverly here, And again, I'm going to do the same procedure we did before with muscle testing. 2 pounds, 2 seconds, 2 inches. So here we go again. The same thing. I asked Beverly about her electronics. She said she didn't have electronics. Asked about her both arms and shoulders fine. She said yes. So we're going to take the right one for our demonstration here. So I'm going to do the same thing again. Remember what we did before. Make sure her shoulder is down, her elbow is straight. My hands on the back of her wrist. I'm going to push straight down. Remember, 2 pounds, 2 seconds, 2 inches. Here we go. And resist. There's our strength. So now I'm going to go back with our sugar cube again. I'm going to give Beverly a piece of sugar and see if that affects her system again. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with her again. 2 pounds, 2 seconds, 2 inches. You push, and there's our weakness. A little bit, but the longer you work with it and the more you work with it, the better you're going to get. You're going to be a great practitioner. So taking these small little ambiances that we see makes you better. It makes this process go quicker for you and more clearly for you. And you're going to get the results you want to get. Keep at it. You're doing fine.